goodness me. So if we look at these types of slopes, just in the recent 3 or 4 generations, we have this occurrence too. Not just a technological occurrence, but a social occurrence. And the social occurrence is here. My grandmother, I had 2 grandmothers. One lived just shy of 101. The other one that passed away in her late 90s. We don't know what age because they're just late 90s. It was the 100 one was a noted one, 100 years old. That was a big thing. And I think, and that was in the early 90s, and her life, being brought up in New Orleans, was really one of gas lights to electric lights. Horses and carriages to streetcars to automobiles. Women not driving, not voting, to doing both. Yeah, a lot of change. Well, so when I came around, I said, well, I'm used to a more rapid sense of change. I've seen change happen more. And although she was traveled worldwide and lived overseas quite a few years and very, very active, I saw my rate of change and the ability to change being a little bit steeper. And so when I started engineering school, for instance, I was digging in a drawer the other day, and I came out with this. Many of you may know what this is. That's what I started with. Never could find the inch mark. It was not very good. The houses I built with it didn't turn out too good. The slide rule. So I started with the slide rule. And that was, and also I found this, and this is the social aspect of that's the technical aspect. And the first calculator I bought while in engineering school at Tulane University, and it was $150. A Bowman, they went out of business like the next day, but it was add, subtract, multiply, divide, and a percentage. So it had 5 function. And 150, and by the time I got out, of course, you could have graduate school, you could have, programmable HPs for less than that. But if that's a technical change, the social change is one thing I had as a intern engineer. You know what this is? Yeah, prestigious, isn't it? It used to be. I was a summer intern for Monsanto in research and continuous fiber texturizing system, making breakthrough discoveries like Kiana. I should have wore one of those shirts today. But this is a social aspect, and now this is, of course, considered very geekish, if at all usable with the types of shirts. So the types of changes we see now, but this is me. How about the generation that comes behind me? I have a 15-year-old son, and my daughter is 19, going on 29, I guess. And she's and they had this conference about getting new cell phones the other day with my wife, and my wife's at Oregon State. I would be killed if this ever got out about University of Oregon State. And she's the Associate Dean of Academic Studies there. And so they had a conference, my 2 children and my wife, about what types of new phones they want on our family package. And that was a nice conversation. They included me at the end of the conversation asking me what color of phone did I want. That was all I got. Why? Do I not know phones or what? And then when it came, I just gave it to my daughter and said, hey, put my movies on it and put my music on it and put the ringtones and, do the whole thing and then hand it to me ready to go. Did I know how to, to change out the chip? Yeah, I did. But I don't have time to learn that. So what I have are 2 children that are much more savvy in certain aspects of change than I am. This is remarkable because if we go back simply 300-400 years ago, what I would be doing is farming. And you'd be doing farming too. Animal raising, farming, something of that sort, or closely associated with that. And your parents would be your primary teachers, and you'd hang on the skirt of your mom or the coat of your dad, and you'd learn everything. And now in the work world, we have people that we hire that are more technically skilled than we are, that have a different view of the world than we have. And they're not necessarily interested in our world view. The world's changing, and maybe we're the ones that are lagging within the workplace as it relates to change overall. So the social dimension has shifted quite a bit here. The rate of change can be seen in a universal clock, integrated chip, Moore's laws, evolution of life, forms of communications, patent applications. Anything you want to talk about, we can see this type of steep rise. And there's reasons for it. There's reasons in terms of inventions being added with inventions. But the challenge is really one to take under. In this recent book, I guess 2008 it came out, Thomas Friedman, Hot, Flat, and Crowded, this quote: "We can no longer expect to enjoy peace and security, economic growth, and human rights if we continue to ignore the key problems of what he calls the energy climate era that began in 2000. Energy supply and demand, petro-dictatorship, climate change, energy poverty, and biodiversity loss." So in other words, that he points out that over the past many decades that we were working hard on security of states. And in fact, another curve that we could draw up there is that there's less human life loss percentage of the population of Earth than any time in our history right now due to war. Now that's amazing. I know the headlines sometimes say differently, but there's less people dying percentage-wise of the total population of war than any time in our history. Okay, so we worried about security, we worried about human rights, we worried about growth, economic growth, and he's saying that's great, but there's a new wave of change that's happening, and maybe we don't see it. Maybe we're standing on the shore with our little sand pail, fighting back the little bit of waves, and there's a tsunami coming. And people are yelling about tsunamis, and we're saying, well, we're not too sure, are you right here, right here? I'll tell you, they're all wrong in terms of the characteristics of the tsunamis being exact, but they're right about the tsunami. They're right that things are going to change. You think you're dealing with change now? You have no idea what's coming down the path. World population development I spoke to. This is pressure on us, and where will it end? What will happen? Another Malthusian correction, like in 1943 with mass worldwide population deaths. Another black plague, I don't know. Maybe because of good work in public service, in public health, we look like we've abated a number of those things. We're still worried about them, but we have populations living longer, yes. So the challenges ahead are brought by this aging, this longevity that we have, that we've sought out, leading to increased people and birth rates, of course, increased people, leading to even an impact on our food supply. The last recorded year, 2007, saw the lowest point, the second lowest point in our history in terms of worldwide grain carryover. This is a measure about how much food, basic food, do we have in the world. We're down to 61 days. Second lowest on record, next to 1943. That means that we are consuming the food that we're making now. We had a big bump. We had a transformational change in the 50s and the 60s in our agricultural production. Unbelievable. The pesticides and use of new grains and the use of industrial farming, which we all trash now, maybe rightly so, but that brought us to a point of feeding the world. And then we worked the distribution aspect of it. That, of course, is convoluted now, but we worked the distribution issue. I'm telling you now, we don't have the food to feed the world despite the distribution in upcoming. It's increasing at 1 or 2% per year, our worldwide agricultural growth, and our population is doing something totally different. This isn't to scare you. It just says, if you think that your little change in your office or in your state or in your program or whatever else is the only thing that's happening, you're missing the tsunami that's coming. It's happening all around you. We'll all be turned upside down, and we can take advantage of that. We can move ahead with that, or we can curse the tsunami. Standing on the shore and yelling at the tsunami probably won't have much of an impact. Exponential change. You're part of it. Your children are part of it. The next generation will be part of it. So I want you to just turn to each other just for a minute, if you would, and I'll give you a total of 4 minutes to have a little conversation. What has been the impact, not of the technology, because you'll talk about having computers and everything else, but I'm after the social aspect. What have you seen in your life in terms of social aspect of the changes that have occurred in the last 10 years, say.